I once thought that true love could conquer everything, until I pushed my beloved out of the window with my own hands, just to protect him from the harm I might bring. I stood in front of that window, watching him fall, filled with guilt and helplessness. And when I finally defeated the evil, I found that time had been stolen and everything had changed. Chapter 42 Luca. I stared at my trembling hands, clenching them into fists as the reality of what had just transpired crashed over me like a tidal wave of despair. My mate, my queen, had been torn from my grasp and sent back to the castle, back to my accursed chambers before I could even attempt to explain myself, before I could hold her one last time, before I could press my lips to hers in what might have been our final farewell. My wolf, a primal force within me, snarled and raged, threatening to consume my humanity and turn me rogue for allowing her to slip through my fingers yet again. The cruel 𝐊𝐢𝐬 of it all was lost on me. I had known her for barely a month, yet the bond between us felt eternal. For 8 decades, I had waited, searching for my mate, only to have her ripped away so soon after finding her. The injustice of it all burned like acid in my veins. My claws, sharpened, lethal, pierced the skin of my palms. The pain served as a stark reminder of my dual nature, part human, part beast. Had I been purely wolf, I knew without a doubt that I would have already torn through the castle gates, racing to the outskirts to hunt down Caitlin. I would have relished in tearing her apart, leaving nothing but a crimson stain on the purple soil of our land. No, 𝐊𝐲 wouldn't be taken from me. Not now. Not ever. The very thought of losing her permanently sent waves of self-loathing crashing through me. Only the moon goddess knew the depths of my resentment in that moment, the overwhelming urge to destroy every piece of furniture in my chambers. 𝐊𝐲 was mine, just as I was hers. So why did it seem so effortless for her to let go? Why did she surrender herself so readily? Ugh. The guttural roar tore from my throat as I brought my fist down on the dining table, splitting it clean in two. The wounds on my knuckles healed almost instantly, even as fresh blood dripped onto the shattered wood. My gaze fell upon the door, and suddenly, a plan began to form in my mind. It wasn't a plan for victory in the traditional sense. I cared little for the survival of my people in that moment. No, this was a plan to ensure 𝐊𝐲's safe return, to bring her back to me whole and unharmed. Without hesitation, I bolted from the room, my footsteps echoing through the hallways of my cursed castle. As I ran, I reached out through our pack bond, linking all for kingdom leaders, preparing them for the impending war. All responded swiftly, save for the West, the damned, silent West. I burst into my office, immediately setting to work a letter that would be dispatched to the 3 responsive kingdom leaders, along with 20 of my finest daggers. The missive contained explicit instructions to capture outskirt beasts and return them to me. I demanded that each kingdom not rest until they had secured at least 200 of these creatures, emphasizing the need for haste. As I penned the letters, I made a solemn vow to myself and to 𝐊𝐲. I would train my castle dwellers to fight alongside the beasts, not against them. I would instill in my people the understanding that their queen's life held precedence over their king's, that the mother of all wolves must survive, even if it meant their own demise. White hot rage coursed through my veins like liquid fire as I concluded the letter. Through our pack link, I summoned 2 of my most trusted guards, ordering them to my office and instructing them to bring my mother as well. I swore to myself that I would not rest until every last enemy was imprisoned for eternity. I would not cease my efforts until the moon goddess's balance was restored. And above all, I would not find peace until 𝐊𝐲 was safe in my arms, free from the constant fear of impending doom. A knock sounded on my door. "Come in," I snarled, balling my hands into fist. Both guards I had ordered came in, gripping my mother's wrists with as she attempted to fight against their power. They bowed their heads to me as I stood, eyeing both of them to see any sign of challenge from their end. "Tie her to the chair and wait outside the door. Unless I speak, you are to wait outside the door like unmoving stones. Am I understood?" I commanded. They bowed, faces and moving before they left my mother and I alone. What is the meaning of all this? Luca, how you do this to your own mother? Again, she futilely attempted to fight against the metal restraints on her wrists. Release me, boy. Now, it's alpha to you. Woman. I walked towards her, a scoff painted on my lips. Now repeat what you just said. Correctly this time. Luca. I said release me. I slapped her. Never in a million years did I expect the first woman it hit to be my own mother. My kin and blood, but if my theory was right, she not only deserved to be slapped, but to die 1,000 agony-laced deaths until the meaning of death no longer existed. Oh, a tear made its way down her face as she looked down. Guilt began swarming my heart, but I made sure to not show it. Now repeat what you just said. Correctly this time. I gritted through my teeth, kneeling so that my eyes leveled with hers. She swallowed, fear saturating her blue orbs before speaking. Alpha, please release me. A sadistic chuckle made its way out of my throat as I titled my head. And why would I release the woman responsible for a revolution against my mate? Why would I release the woman who tried to go against the fate of the moon goddess? Why would I release a woman who made a deal with the devil against her own son's wishes? Disgust was a feeling I was becoming accustomed to when it came to her. You are not a mother. You are a monster. Her nostrils flared as her ticked. She attempted one last time to flee from the metal holding her to the chair, but failed miserably. There is a thin line between a mother and a monster. Son, mother sat up straight, holding the posture chefs maintained for the past 2 years. You can't see it yet, but bonding with the West is the only option if you want to become the king that brought his for kingdoms prosper. But you are blinded by feudal love. I'm the blind one. You are a dog ready to get on its knees for the slightest approval of temporary power. It's pathetic. She was taken aback. But I continued. I am following the fate of the moon goddess. You are following the lulls of the underworld. She was angry, hurt, betrayed. I felt it through our bond, but I felt not remorse nor mercy towards her. So you admit that you have taken a part in the acts of the West. I asked my final question, the question that would determine my status as an orphan or not. I kept my focus on her heartbeat. If she were to lie, I would know it. Son, I regret it. That in itself was a lie. Guards. I called out and they came right in. Imprison the bitch with the seers and kill anyone who's had contact with her. Make sure the seers tell you exactly who she's been speaking with and do not rest until every single one of them is gone. They bowed before grabbing my mother. Luca, don't do this. Please. I am your mother. You need me. You need me there for you. Please. You are nothing but a wolf who has betrayed not only her kingdom but her king. From here on now, I sentence you to life in the castle's prisons. You are to not see sunlight until your last breath has passed. Guards, take her and complete your orders. Report back to me once you are done or if any complications arise. And with that, mother's screams and cries echoed through the hallways leading to my office. I shook with the force of 1,000 suns, and my tremors didn't stop until dawn when all 3 kingdoms I commanded reported their acceptance of my orders. It wasn't until then, as I stood in front of the wall of windows 𝐊𝐲 and I shared our first fleeting moments in, that I realized the alpha in me had to prevail. Alas, he was out and hungry for blood, whether that be red or purple blood. I did not care. So long as the enemy could breathe, my thirst for death would not end. So long as 𝐊𝐲 was not breathing next to me, my thirst for death would not end. Chapter 43. 𝐊𝐲, 2 weeks later, you think you're prepared to face the mother of witches after tomorrow. Kate's expression screamed shock. 𝐊𝐲, my dear 𝐊𝐲. This is not a random Tuesday brunch with the wives of the king's old friends. This is war. We have 6 beasts. I caught 60 for myself. My wolf is more intact with me now that she's under your control. I feel more powerful than I ever have. I cannot get too comfortable in this routine as nice as it is. I removed my mask and shut the door behind me. We cannot let her get more powerful than she already is. You have a little over 70 witches under your wing that have agreed to fight alongside us, now that we've blood bonded. We are ready. Kate, Kate ran a stressed hand through her stark white locks as she leaned against the dining chair, a coffee mug in her hand. For a 2-year-old witch, she lived quite a mundane life. As much as I hate to say it, I have to agree. I nodded silently, falling onto the leather couch I had become painfully accustomed to. But 𝐿𝐲, you must go into war with a clear head. You have anything but. My eyes snapped to hers. What do you mean? You are filled with rage. I can feel it through our bond. Your rage is overwhelming even for me. I can see it when you fight. I can see it when you eat. I can see it when you sleep. She drummed her perfectly manicured fingers against her cup, swallowing in the process. You've changed. Ever since 𝐿𝐲 left, you've become a ticking time bomb. 𝐿𝐲 coughed. Rage is the only thing keeping me alive. Kate. I balled my hands into fists as I spoke. Rage is probably the reason I haven't gone rogue. And besides, a ticking time bomb is all that witch needs. Kate sighed as she walked towards me, leaning down so her eyes leveled with my own. My love, rage is good for battles, but it is not good for the heart. It shrivels the heart up and forces it to shrink in its great size. It carves wrinkles onto the canvas of the heart. And eventually, stars. Not good for the heart, you say. My legs began bobbing up and down without my notice. Not good for the fucking heart. The knots in my chest tightened. Not good for the heart, she confirmed, laying a comforting hand on my knee that forced me to look down, for I feared she would see my eyes welling up with tears so great the rivers of the outskirts were envious. I wish we could back in time. My voice shook. I wish I could go back in time and stop 𝐿𝐲 from ever meeting me. There is nothing more I would want than to do so. My heart aches for him. I can feel his own hardening its shell as the days pass. And it's breaking me. He has been waiting for his other half for 80 years. Kate, could you imagine the pain he is feeling right now? Can anyone? A traitorous stare slid from my eyes and onto Kate's hardwood floors, separating into hundreds of different sized puddles. My dear, you are what we call a hero. Another scoff made its way up my throat. I don't want to be a hero. I want to be a warrior. A normal warrior who follows orders and climbs up the ranks of the Golden Castle. I want to be the warrior Mother told me I should. I halted in my words, fully registering the words that had just come out of my mouth. I want to be the warrior my mother wished I could be. And you are just that. 𝐿𝐲. Kate spoke. You are that and so much more. You are so robustly ready to risk your life for the sake of others against thought. Whether you like it or not, you are and will remain a hero for the rest of your life. Your name will be engraved in great halls and written down in soon-to-be old books. You will pass on a legacy that nobody other than you can beat. I hope so. I hope so. A sob made its way down my throat as I remembered the night the West had attacked us. I really do hope so. Your mother would be so proud of you. As would your father. Kate titled my chin upwards with her ring finger. And those green eyes you keep thinking of are nothing but a blessing. You hear me? I nodded aggressively, unable to hear whatever bullshit she was spewing. The thought that Mother could be smiling down at me brought upon me a pain so inexplicable even the most powerful seer would not be able to muster up a cryptic rhyme to understand me. For all the skies Mother brought down for me, I would bring down the stars just to see her one last time. But I couldn't. For all the stars 𝐿𝐲 brought down for me, I would bring down galaxies just to see him one last time. But I couldn't. I could do nothing but force myself into a battle I did not consent to being a part of. Victory was my only option, and if I did not achieve that, millions of innocent souls would pass because of my incompetence. It was all too much, but I had to deal with it. Eventually, it would all pass. I would be in 𝐿𝐲's arms, safe and sound without a worry in the world, or in Mother's warm sanctuary looking down on 𝐿𝐲 as he lived a life without me. I knew which one I wanted more, but I didn't know which one I would achieve, not even by 0.5%. A sudden heaviness sat upon my chest as I looked around frantically. Where was 𝐿𝐲? I looked outside the windows of Kate's cottage and there was no sign of her. My heart accelerated in its beats far faster than what would be considered normal 𝐿𝐲. I called out. There was no way the witch already got to my head. Kate ensured my safety by placing a guard spell on my soul. A screech sounded from above us as 𝐿𝐲𝐻𝐬 rested almost to the left of me. She sat outside the cottage in all her white beauty, a phoenix in its rawest form. Leela, that guard spell was curated by 70 witches. If the queen wanted to get through your head, all 70 witches would have to die or lose significant control of their powers. Kate said, "Don't worry. For now, at least. How about we strike tomorrow?" I recommended. Once dusk hits, we leave the cottage. They'll move in wolf form. The witch will not expect us to attack when the beasts are at peak power. We stab her where she can't see, nor feel. It's a good plan, but a high-risk one. High risk, high reward. Well, witch, well, what do you feel? Deep down, what do you think is best? Kate sat next to me, eyes awaiting my response. This is your plan. We are your followers. We want the queen dead just as much as you do, and remember, several Westerners will attack once we attack. So you're going up against an army of werewolves and beasts. We are merely beings. They will be in the thousands. The Westerners have never encountered the beasts of the outskirts. I guarantee you it will take at least 10 to injure one of my trained beauties. I cracked my neck and leaned forward. I will focus on physically injuring the witch. You and the rest of the witches try to weaken her mind so that I can take control of her. And how will you take control of her? The back of her neck. I slipped my dagger out of my boot, admiring the way it glimmered. I don't think it will be that easy, and I think that that's a matter for when we see her and stab a silver stake through her heart. Easy there. Con, now here's the plan. Make sure to broadcast this to the rest of the witches. He'll take care of my beasts. I let out a shaky breath. They're all I can control right now. Chapter 40 for by 𝐊𝐢𝐬𝐻𝐬's father, the northern lands, 18 hours after Leela set her plan. My little girl was wandering the outskirts with no one but a witch who betrayed her trust. She was alone, maybe hungry and cold, with nothing but the daggers I carved with my bare hands and a suit of armor she bound to protect with her life. I looked up at the stars before my eyes focused on the moon. Goddess, it is a sin to go against your destiny, but I beg that you keep my oldest kin alive. I beg that you protect her heart in your hands and cocoon it with your hold. I pray that you watch over her, and only her. My voice cracked. I pray that you aid her in forgiving me. I pray that she does not pass detesting me. I pray that she is safe. I pray that she is strong. My legs could not hold the strength of my helplessness as I collapsed on both knees, hands held out in prayer palms facing glittering skies. Leela had it as in need of your help, and I pray that you give it to her. A tear slid down the apple of my cheek. The 3 kingdoms are in dire need of your help, and I pray that you give it to us. All hands squeezed my shoulders, forcing me to let out a shaky breath before looking up. 𝐵𝐴TLE, my mate, my lover, my other half. All things I once found beautiful, but now seem to see lacking in meaning. This is the first time I see you cry. By lol, she sighs, a hand laying atop her chest. It is a gut-wrenching sight. I paused for a beat, eyes catching sight of the full moon before returning them to 𝐵𝐴TLE. The last time I cried was when I held Farah's breathing body in my hands, Leela's mother. The time before that was when Leela was deemed dead by the pack hunters. I confessed, wiping at my tears. Almost 9 years ago. It is okay to cry. By lol, which by lol, she assured. It is most certainly nothing to be ashamed of. My dear, indeed it is not. I stood up, walking to the edge of my roof. Indeed it is not. The king has suspicions that Leela will be striking the heart of witches tomorrow at dusk. 𝐵𝐴TLE walked alongside me. Do you believe we are ready? We reached the edge of the fenced roof, both uttering a prayer before looking down at the almost fabricated sight we were witnessing. Warriors holding beast by leashes, some by ropes as their beasts could fly, and others with unbreakable obsidian chains for fear their beasts were too powerful. The warriors were guiding their beasts to the borders of the northern lands in preparation for the war tomorrow, as were the rest of the allied kingdoms. We would march into the outskirts and fight with our last breaths. 3 kingdoms united as one for the sake of humanity. Can you believe my little girl fought these demons for years? That she lived in their lands and came out alive in the end? My knuckles whitened as I spoke. I certainly cannot. 𝐊𝐲𝐬 admitted. She is a wonder. A true warrior at heart. 𝐊𝐢's name will be taught to our children's children. Generations above us will whisper her name in gratitude before their every slumber. May the goddess be with her. May the goddess be with her. I repeated. We sat in silence for a while as we watched the soldiers ready their arrows, guns, and dynamite. The sound of their footsteps was calming at first, but as the beasts got louder in their screeching, both 𝐊𝐲𝐬 and I began feeling uneasy. I felt her fear growing through the bond, her complete and utter agony at the predicaments that tomorrow held. 𝐊𝐲𝐬 was the first to break that silence. Promise me that you will come out of this battle alive. 𝐿𝐲𝐬. Promise me that you will come back to me and tell me that the war has ended yourself. Her eyes welled with heavy tears. I cupped her face in my hands, wiping her tears. I promise you I will try my hardest to come out of this battle alive. My love, I promise you I will try my hardest to protect the kingdoms of our people, but I cannot promise you that I will live. She whimpered, forcing me to pull her into my chest. Can I ask you a question? I nodded, chin atop her full head of silky hair. Would you die for 𝐊𝐲𝐬? I stilled, hairs on my arms rising. Of course I would. What kind of a? Good. 𝐊𝐲𝐬 pulled herself away from me, wiping aggressively at her waterfall of tears. It's what she deserves. My shoulders drooped at her reaction. You had me there for a second. I let out. She shook her head, a small smile making its way to her face. I had a very loving father, one that would cuddle me in his arms before bed, even as an adult. Without his love, I would not be the woman I am today. If it wasn't for him, may his beloved soul rest with the moon, my heart would not be as full as it is today. I swallowed down an array of emotions as her words sunk into my system. 𝐊𝐲𝐬 would not have spoken of me in the way that 𝐊𝐲𝐬 spoke of her father. Never in a million years would she. I did not give 𝐊𝐲𝐬 even half of what your father gave you. 𝐊𝐲𝐬 shook her head. You did not, which is why you have to fight. Not only for the kingdoms of our people, but for 𝐊𝐲𝐬. Am I unforgivable? I asked. As a daughter, do you think I am unforgivable? No one is unforgivable. 𝐿𝐲𝐬, you are only unforgivable if you do not try, and you haven't tried hard enough. To 𝐊𝐲𝐬, you did not care enough. To 𝐊𝐲𝐬, you sent out the minimum amount of troops to look for her the night she disappeared. To 𝐊𝐲𝐬, you gave up, but none of the troops were willing to leave their families. 𝐊𝐲𝐬, I exceeded the maximum. For weeks I sent those willing to look out for her, but she was so far away. 𝐿𝐲𝐬, breathe. I know. Trust me, I know. But 𝐊𝐲𝐬 is your daughter. She puts you to such a high standard, a standard so excelled that she never expected you to deem her dead. Above all that, she is hurt. She is scarred. 𝐊𝐲𝐬 ran her fingers down the length of my face. Eyes glossy. But if you come out of this war alive, you will have all the time in the world to prove that you are the father she thought you were. My heart calmed. But the beasts lining up at the borders only seemed to become more agitated. It was as though they could feel that war was brewing. 𝐿𝐲𝐬, do you see that? 𝐊𝐲𝐬 pointed to the direction of the outskirts, a great wall of washed-out trees. Over there. I squinted my eyes, lips parting at what I saw. An arrow slicing through the midnight air, fire lining its entire shaft. 2 more arrows followed, each one increasing in the distance it traveled. It was northern tradition to fire 3 arrows before war elders said it would bless its warriors with good luck. That each arrow traveled as far as the warriors would. My heart accelerated in its beats, as did my breath. Hope splashed through my chest. Strength flowed through my muscles. The world was colorful again. 𝐿𝐲𝐬, the war has begun. Send your soldiers to the forefront. We meet into hours. King Lucas' voice radiated through my skull, sending waves of dizziness throughout my entire being. 𝐊𝐤𝐳 had been our king that night. That 𝐊𝐤 was our leader, and we would follow her every command. Chapter 45. The war, are you ready? I asked Kate, a bow and arrow in my shaking hands. She let out a shaky breath, both her palms facing the shaft of my arrow. As ready as I'll ever be. Let us declare war then. The northern way, I whispered, positioning the point of my arrow to the indigo midnight skies. Light this arrow the light of 1,000 suns, and show the people that war has begun. She chanted, fire blazing from her hands onto my arrow. My face warmed immediately as my fingertips blackened at the contact. Without a second thought, I let the arrow fly. I let the arrow carry my fears and burdens with it as its wings pushed it further into the atmosphere of the rotten outskirts. I let the arrow flee with my worry in its heart. I fired 2 more arrows, each one strengthening in the distance it traveled, before falling on both me's palms facing the night skies. O goddess of the moon, I will do everything in me to fulfill this wretched destiny you have put upon me. I will be your undying slave, just as much as I am your undying warrior. Whether I live or die isn't important. All that is of matter is that the 4 kingdoms rise once more as with their king. I prayed. I beg that your moonshine blesses my battlefield. I beg that your full moon works in my favor. Before I could re-in for any doubt within me, I got on both feet and turned around to face the army I had been raising for almost 3 weeks now. Over 6 beasts stood side by side, lining the outskirts like a wall of guards. They were under my command, my style. They would act by me, fight as I say, and die for me. I would be sure to bury every single one that passes. Not a single body will be left withering away in the rot of the outskirts. They were soldiers just as much as they were beasts. Is my plan clear? I asked Kate, evoking a nod out of her. Then the war has officially begun. Kate took a deep breath, whispering a lull of words before swaying her arms in circular motions, the wind following her every movement. She shut her eyes, power oozing off of her in waves before slamming both of her fists together. The dirt beneath her jumped just as her eyes flew open, amber in color and shining as bright as the full moon above us, and spoke. Nil lupum par ida vertiti ben edi sight. Et vertitifer is in sculpity. My breath was slammed out of me, forcing my bow and arrow to fall onto the ground. I collapsed, feeling my bones weigh 1,000 tons more than they were supposed to. I was cold, shivering in fact, but I was also sweating. It felt as though boulders of ice were positioned to the right of me, and to my left. The sun. None of it felt right, but Kate warned me what a spell like this could do. I was ready to face the consequences. My beast screeched at the sight of my fall, ready to lunge, but I held my quivering hand out, ushering them not to. My heart was beating with the force of 1,000 armies marching into battle, almost breaking out of the shell of my ribcage, and all I could do was withstand the throbbing of my body, all until it became too much. So I screamed. I screamed so loud that the great trees shook in their cemented soil. I screamed so loud that my beast danced. I screamed so loud that the moon was forced to move on its axis. And then suddenly, the pain dissipated. Suddenly, my body felt light. Suddenly, my bones and muscles glided against one another as though they were algae dancing in their home of water. Suddenly, I felt strength in my body, my mind, my heart and soul. I let out a deep breath, my fingers digging into the soil beneath me as I attempted to regain my composure. My wolf tried to be let out, but I reined her in, telling her it was not her time. Everything around me was multiplied in clarity. My smelling, my hearing, my instincts. It felt as though I was one with nature. It felt as though the leaves on the trees surrounding me moved to my own accord. Kate was silent as she watched me stand with my bow in hand, her eyes fearful before I connected my own with hers. How do you feel? I swallowed, eyeing my beast one last time before facing her, like him ready for war. She let out a breath she had been holding for a while. Oh, thank the goddess. Run along now. I will portal the beast into the center of the forest. The witches will meet us once the queen's beasts have been obliterated. There. They will hold her fortress captive with their magic as with mine. And remember, 𝐿𝐲, please remember to look out for 𝐸. You will never know if you are truly alive unless you see her, or any other bird for God's sake. Birds are the only creatures a witch cannot recreate. I replied with a nod, taking one last deep breath before sprinting as though my life counted on it. As I reached the end of the mountain we were on, I shut my eyes and called to my wolf. She answered immediately, forcing the hairs on my arms to rise and the bones in my body to glide with her command. The process was painless, and I relished in its peace, for it may have been my last time ever facing it. Just as my shift completed, I jumped flying with the wind for a while before laying on the ground on all fours. My blood bond with Kate would ensure that, no matter how far away I was from her, I would continue to face the benefits of her magic, and I was eternally grateful for it. A half-hour passed before I reached the horizon of the Queen's border, forcing me to halt in my steps. A circular line of salt stood in front of me. If I was right, it covered over 20 acres of land. I heard my beasts growls all the way from their borders. I heard their screams echo through the vast forests of the outskirts. I just didn't know if that was the sound of victory or the sound of loss. My heart accelerated in its beats. If I were to break that line, the Queen would know that 𝐸 arrived. There was a reason the beasts were portal led into the heart of the Queen's cocoon. Had they passed through my journey, they would have faced 10 times the casualties we were already facing. My mask was strapped to my boots. My swords were hidden everywhere beneath my armor. My bow and arrow lay tied to my back. I was ready, and it was now or never. So I blew onto the salt line, consulting the Queen of Monsters that I was here. Without a second thought, I ran with the force of 1,000 wolves and growled like a dragon. The bodies of my beasts began nearing my vision as I watched them ravage the Queen's army. Their 6-headed bodies biting the arms of their enemies, but there was a problem. Her army had multiplied. There seemed to have been over 1,000 of hers, while there was only 6 of mine. Do you see why I wanted to attack now? I linked to Kate. I see. Fear not. The witches and I will help as much as we can. We cannot afford a death. One death is one man for your guard, 𝐸. She replied. My heart squeezed painfully as I lengthened the distance of my lunges. I was officially in the battlefield, navigating through several beasts' dead bodies and dodging the beasts whose attention even dared to divert to me. Kate told me that the Queen lived in the trees, the tallest tree of the outskirts. In fact, so when I neared a tree so tall its leaves blurred through the skies, I knew I had found her. And then came another problem. How in the world was I going to climb this tree? That problem soon dissipated when I heard a growl echo from right behind me. The hairs on my wolf's body rose. Fuck. I turned around, only to find a 10-foot tall beast with its 7-fingered fist lunging at me. Instantaneously, I jumped out its way, forcing its fist to collide with the ground, not giving it time to recover. I sunk my fangs into its leg, pulling at it with so much vigor I managed to make it slip on its back. I forced myself to shift back into my human form, my armor accommodating my human body immediately, and slid my sword from my boot. Die, you son of a bitch, I growled, sinking my sword into its head and sliding it down his body, cutting his unruly form in half. Kate, I need to get to the top of that tree. I linked. There's too many beasts. 𝐿𝐲, she replied. Where are you? I asked, unable to see her through the sea of beasts circulating the entire tree. Just as I asked, another beast was sprinting towards me. I snarled, sprinting just as fast as it was with my sword dangled to its head. Before my sword could make its way into its brain, another beast slammed into it, clawing at its head before fisting its chest. The beast that wanted to attack me seized before falling still, its head disconnected from its body and its chest open oozing indigo blood. Just as I was about to thank my beast, a maroon hand slammed through its chest, forcing my beast to collapse on both legs, breathing and unmoving. I stilled, rage boiling in my blood as my eyes took in the maroon beast that just killed my soldier. Now is not the time to get emotional. 𝐿𝐲, I told myself, Kill that motherfucker. I growled with the force of 1,000 groundbreaking earthquakes before lunging onto my red-faced enemy, sword in my hand and hope in my heart. Before my enemy's fist could land on me, I kneeled out of the way and jumped onto its back. Oh goddess, make this all my enemies' fates. I prayed before slicing that maroon motherfucker's head off. I rolled onto the ground afterwards, grabbing my bow and arrow in the process, and aimed at its heart. Just as my poison-laced arrow pierced the enemy's heart, the ground beneath me shook, forcing me to stumble out of balance. A beat passed and the rumbling of the dirt turned stronger. 𝐊𝐤𝐧𝐿. Did the Queen's reinforcements sent from the west arrive? Was the Queen already in my head? Flying above my battlefield disproved that theory. My army was not prepared for such a war. I had lost over half of my beast, and my witches were hidden somewhere in the forests trying to keep my mind intact. With every thought that passed through my head, the shaking worse, and it got so bad that even the beasts of my enemy cowered. I refused to cower. Whatever it was, no matter how tall or great it was, I was going to hide from it. I was going to face it like the warrior mother raised me to be. I was going to flash it with the green eyes mother had blessed me with and strike it with my swords even if it meant I died. They're here, 𝐊𝐤, all of them. Kate linked. So I stood my ground. I stood as my enemies cowered with my sword in one hand and my bow on my back. The strings of my heart pulled painfully as the sound of their stomps 𝐿𝐤, but I refused to show them my fear. Whoever they were chanting. It wasn't until they neared that I heard their battle songs. 𝐊𝐤𝐬𝐧, we follow your command. My lips parted as the unknown army passed through the fog of the outskirts. Hundreds, if not thousands of soldiers of all colors striding into the battlefield, riding beasts of all kinds from all sides of 𝐾𝐻𝐿's circular cocoon, all holding up flags of their kingdoms. I spun to my left, the east. I spun to my right, the south. I looked right in front of me, the north. My heart bloomed, so I howled, eyes facing the shining moon. They all howled right back. Just as I was about to run to the tree, I smelt him. I smelt Luca. My heart shattered. He couldn't be here. He could not be here. I was not going to be responsible for his death. A screech echoed from above me, forcing me to look up, only to find a broad-shouldered man flying high above me on a four-winged beast, arrows and ammo strapped to his back. The beast flew down at unimaginable speed, revealing its rider. Luca. I let out, heart bursting out of my chest. Get on my beast. We have to get to the tree, he ordered, and so I followed. I straddled his beast and wrapped my arms around his waist, his warmth radiating onto me and filling my blood with vigor like never before. I tightened my grip on his waist, laying a chaste kiss on his shoulder. Whatever you do, 𝐊𝐤, don't die, he begged. Am I understood? I nodded. I will try my best not to. 𝐾𝐜. I felt his heart squeeze through our bond. Luca tapped his beast's neck. Rise. And the beast did just that. The beast jumped upward, catching the wind with its wings and bringing us to the skies. I did not know how Luca was able to catch such a beast, and I did not want to know. I was just glad I could hold him one last time. Luca, please command your beast to catch you no matter what, I asked, my lips grazing his ears. He is already commanded to do so. Good, I replied. Very good. The battlefield beneath us only got louder as we rose, but with my arms wrapped around Luca, the battlefield felt like home. I looked down, watching as fires erupted and as guns were shot. Pride filled my being. We were going to win the war. We had to. There. Luca pointed to a window that was carved into the tree. That's our entrance hour. He said hour. Then let's get to it, I said, a smirk making its way to my lips. Let's kill the bitch. Let's kill the bitch, he repeated, a snarky chuckle escaping his throat. Lucas beast rested on the branch right next to the window. We wasted no time and stretched our way into the window. The window was just as tall as Luca, as though it were a trap made just for him to enter. all there laid was a circular staircase that would lead me higher into the tree. My chest hollowed as I prepared myself for what I was about to do. I faced Luca, who stood at the entrance of the window. In all his glory, I appreciated him for everything he had done. I made sure he felt it all through our bond. He furrowed his brows at the way I was looking at him, at the feelings I was making him feel using our bond. "Luca," I began, eyes welling up with unimaginable tears. "I love you. I love you so much that the only reason I am breathing is you. I love you so much I would die for you." I sounded insane, but Luca made me insane. He would be the rise of me, just as much as he would be the fall of me. "Leela, so do I. But you're not dying for me." "You will never die for," I interrupted him by slamming my lips onto his one last time. He met me with just as much strength, his hand fisting my hair and pulling me inexplicable closer to him. Everything about him felt right. His hands, his skin, his eyes and soul. He was my match made from moonshine. He was my soulmate now until forever. I was the first to pull away. For fuck's sake. I was always the first to pull away. "Leela, what's wrong?" he asked, hands cupping my cheeks, forcing his heat into my body. "Talk to me. We don't have time." "I'm sorry, Luca, but I'm not having you risk your life for me." I croaked. "Not now. Not ever." "Well, I am. Now and forever." I let out a shaky breath, laying a kiss on his thumb before removing his hands from me. "What was going on?" "I'm so sorry, Luca," I sobbed, all before pushing him out of the window and watching as his beast flew back down for him. "Kate, close the window I'm looking at. Close it so that nobody other than me can enter it and leave it." I linked. "On it," she replied. "The real war has begun." Chapter 46. Luca's hurt swarmed through my chest. I felt all the knots that tied his heart, all the tangles and twists that I caused as I walked up the spiral staircase, tears strolling down my cheeks in my bow and north. His pain was my pain. His hurt was my hurt. His heart was my heart. I just hoped he would forgive me for what I had done if I came out of this alive. With every step I took up the stairs, the bombs from below got louder by tenfold S. The screeches of the beast echoed through the winds of the outskirts, forcing them to sway the other way. It wasn't until I reached the top of the staircase that everything turned silent. No longer could I hear the dancing of the winds, or the scraping of leaves. All I could hear was nothingness. It was suffocating, crawling up my veins and clogging them with such intensity I forgot how to breathe. I untied my mask and let it fall to the floor. In front of me laid a door I did not want to go past, but my will to win preceded my fear. If she wanted to see me, then let her. I was all hers now, except I held a bow and arrow that would soon be aimed at her heart. I slammed the side of my body into the door, forcing it to break on its hinges and fly open. "You can put the bow and arrow down. My love, I don't think you would like to face the consequences of my death." A familiar voice echoed, venom lacing its chords. "Unless you want to kill me now, unknowing of what misery that will cause you." I stepped into the room, lips parting. Her back was facing me as she flipped through the pages of a book, long black hair cascading down the length of her slim. Her fingers sported several rings, some large in their gems and others mere coils of copper. A lichen with eyes of thyme brings the witches their cause of demise. But so right as the moon strikes the heart of all magic's cocoon, revolution rises raw, and time no longer brews. She paused, facing me in all her beauty. "Until years have passed, time will no longer debut only orchids with souls as dark as the night swarms the kingdom of all wolves. Until the warrior hears the trumpets, she will remain in her cage, leaving behind darkness and rampage." I completed for her. She smiled, head tilting. She did not look 14 centuries old. "You're much prettier than I thought you would be," the mother of witches said as she shut the book in her hand, not before it disappeared into 1,000 specks of glittering dust. "What a pity." My jaw ticked, eyes glowing bright green at the rage piling in my blood. "Let me ask you a question, Leela," she began, taking slow steps towards me. "Do you understand the prophecy?" Do you comprehend what it holds? Why don't you consult me, Mother of Magic? I asked, toning down on my anger. Why should I? She chuckled. Your army is obliterating my own. You've turned my own witches against me. You are the reason I fight alone. I thought you were all-knowing, I said, voice condescending. I am not the reason your people have turned against you. It is you. All of this is you. If you think even for a second that I am the cause of your demise, then you are stupid. The witch raised her hand, ready to slap me. I grabbed her wrist with lightning speed before she could. My daggers are reaching to pierce your skin to taste your purple blood. I sneered, tightening my grip on her wrist. So tell me why it is I cannot kill you. She snatched her wrist away from my grip, turning around. You know how witches are. Who knows? Maybe 𝐿𝐕 placed a spell that ensures your death once 𝐿𝐕'd. Maybe. You and I are already dead. Maybe. Just maybe. 𝐿𝐕''ed my death to stop the beating of the king's heart if I pass. At the mention of Luca's death, I aimed my bow with whiplash speed and let my arrow fly, watching as it scratched the tip of her ear before smashing into the tree bark in front of her. You don't know what the king looks like. I dropped my bow and arrow, pulling my dagger from my boot as I stalked towards her. You've just discovered what I look like. How are you so sure of that? What was her name? Kate. How are you so sure 𝐿𝐳 stayed loyal to you? I chuckled, her futile attempts at scaring me comical. I'm guessing you haven't heard. She spun to face me, evoking a smirk to make its way to my lips. Caitlin and I have blood bonded. Our souls are connected to one another. The fortress of my mind is being protected by 40 other witches, a guard spell so powerful even you are unable to make it past my soul. Her eyes wide and at my words no. You're weaker than I thought you were. I began, more arrogant than I thought. 14 years on this planet and you act as though you were 5. I suggest you watch your words, no. I suggest you watch your words. I've had enough of your mind games. I've had enough of your bullshit. So unless you are willing to tell me what consequences your death holds, I think I'm going to go with piercing your heart. I let out, tightening my grip on my dagger. Mind games, you say? She faced me once more, eyeing my dagger. And what exactly will you kill me with? I looked down at my hands, suddenly realizing my dagger was no longer in my hands. My eyes moved to look for my bow and arrow, but they also disappeared. And are you sure you want to kill me? Again. I questioned, heart beating out of my chest. It was only when I looked back up at her that I realized what she meant. Within the span of the 2 seconds I had spent mourning the disappearance of my weapons, she had managed to shape-shift into my mother, the one and only 𝐿𝐕 had it. My heart squeezed at the sight of her, itching to climb into her arms once more. But I couldn't. Fuck you. I spat out, elongating my claws. I will kill you with my bare hands if I have to. Do it. You would be sparing me. I've spent enough time on these lands. She sounded exactly like Mother did. So I did what I did best. I lunged at her, fist aimed at her pretty little face, finally succumbing to the rage I had been burying for the past 6 years. She let my fist collide into her cheek, electing cracks from various parts of her face. 𝐖𝐨𝐥𝐼𝐬. Bloodlust clouded my vision. It warmed my thoughts. It became me. I sunk my elongated claws into her arms, pulling her so that our faces were a breath away from one another. You're going to pay for all the lives you've taken, for all the minds you've unwillingly tainted. I pushed her away from me, claws sliding out of her skin, and stalked towards her, pulling another dagger from my boot. Your plan is nothing but a fabrication of your greed for power. You are nothing without the people you've murdered. Just as I was about to pierce the back of her neck with my dagger, the once glimmering weapon dissipated into thousands of grains of sand. You will never be able to control me. I'll destroy any other weapons you have hidden in that faux armor of yours. Without a second thought, I raised my fist and smashed it into her head, enjoying the loud thud that accompanied the colliding of her head into the beautiful tree bark. Is that so? Let's try this then, I said, eliminating my claws once more. Fear burst into Mother's beautiful green eyes, forcing emotions I did not want to feel within me. You said you wanted to die, that it would free you. Am I right? Well, I've a nice change of plans for you. How about I make you my eternal slave, one I will pass down generations, one I will force to walk and breathe on my own accord. Would you like that? Or would you prefer my mercy? I snarled, claw grazing the back of her neck. I did not know what consequences piercing the back of her neck with my claw held, but it seemed that whatever I was doing was working. She began withering in my grip, trying her best to flee, but I remained still as a mountain withstanding a blizzard. So tell me exactly what you've got planned in that head of yours, or I swear to the moon that I will force it out of you. She stood her ground, jaw ticking. I applied more pressure on her neck, watching as a droplet of sweat trickled down her cheek, until she finally gave me a reaction. Laughter. She was laughing. Exactly 13 minutes have passed since we've met one another. Do you know what that means? She said with teary eyes. It means that my glamour has forced 13 minutes to pass up here, but 26 years to pass down there. My lips parted, agony squeezing at my heart, but she continued. Every minute up here is 2 years down there. To your people, the war has ended. To your people, both you and I are long gone. Another laugh made its way up her throat. Did you not think to yourself once that the birds do not sing so high up here? My chest caved. That guard spell is useless. Half a minute up here and your witches are either dead or minding their own business. She inched her face closer to my own. Until the warrior hears the trumpets, she will remain in her cage, leaving behind darkness and rampage. It was all so clear, but I saw none of it. I was blind. So fucking blind. A prophecy is a prophecy. I knew you would be the cause of my demise, so I accepted it. I know better than to fight against the will of the moon. I just made sure to make you suffer the most while you did it. To suck as much life as I could out of you and your people. I think 30 years is almost enough. I snapped her neck beneath my fingers, watching as those bright green eyes told once more right in front me. It wasn't until the beating of her heart stopped completely that I heard the trumpets, the sadistic squeaking of the birds singing outside the cage I was in. My dagger reappeared in my hand, as did my bow and arrow. She was gone. The ultimate threat had been eliminated. I won the war, but I lost the most precious gift the moon could ever bless us with. Time. I lost time, and I lost so much of it. I felt so much, yet I felt so little. As I walked down the damned spiral staircase, daggers in my booted bow on my back. My heart felt as heavy as the ocean, hollow yet filled with the density of helplessness. My body quivered, unable to control the knots tightening themselves in my heart. Upon reaching the last step, my legs could not carry the weight of my mourning any longer, forcing me to collapse on both knees, head held in both palms. I cried with the strength of an animal vomiting on all fours. I cried with the heart, not with the throat. I cried with my entire being, all while facing the window I had thrown Luca out of a few moments ago. 30 years. Oh goddess. I sobbed, watching as the birds danced to my misery. I won the war, but at what cost? Was Luca alive? Was he wedded to another woman? Was father alive and well? Did Slayman and Talia have another child after the war? Did Nader finally become king of the north? Were my half-brothers considered older than me now? Fuck. 𝐊𝐢𝐳 baby. Goddess. I miss so fucking much. The thought churned my stomach, dizzying me for the slightest of seconds. A screech interrupted my mourning, forcing me to snap my head out of the window. A gasp swept my lips at the sigh in front of me. Lucas Beast stared me in the eye, head bowed down in submission as his feet clung to the long-grown tree branch that sat next to the window. I held my palm out, ensure he was no threat, only to have him lean onto my touch. So I got onto the beast with a heavy heart and navigated my way out of what was once the outskirts. Purple soil no longer tainted the grounds, only green grass and wonderful flowers of all kinds. It was as though they were welcoming me back home, staying their stems underneath the speed of Lucas Beast. In fact, Beasts no longer roamed the outskirt grounds. They were all gone. All the bad was gone. So why was I not happy? Why was my heart bursting with regret and mourning? Chapter 47. Luca Day of the War. I stared down at the beast I had just slain, watching in wonder as its body evaporated into indigo hued ashes. Its lifeless eyes were the last to disintegrate, becoming one with the wind as it swiveled north. My body numbed, the sword in my hand falling onto the ground as I stumbled backwards eyes upwards to the tree 𝐿𝐸 had just pushed me out of. How were they disappearing? I looked behind me, only to see that everyone else's beasts were vanishing. Was it her? Was she the reason they were disappearing? Was she the reason the soil greened with every step I took? Was she the reason the scent of lilies and trees enveloped my nose? Was she the reason we had won the war? The noise from behind me heightened in its volume, consulting me and my theory. We won the war. We won the fucking war. A smile crawled up my lips at the thought. 𝐿𝐸 had slain the wicked witch of the west, and she would soon fly down with me and my beast and sing to victory. She would watch as all 4 kingdoms bowed down to her, accepting her as the one true Luna, the title she should have been given the day I met her. The war is won. The East is no longer enemy. 𝐿𝐸 Hatted, the mother of werewolves, has given us a second chance at life. Various chants echoed from around me as my people celebrated, fist facing the skies that were somehow turning blue. 𝐿𝐸 was magic. She was truly magic. King, is it true? Is it true that the mother witch is gone? A southern boy asked, eyes glimmering with hope. Look around you, soldier. I gestured to the greening grass and the sun peeking through the thick atmosphere of the outskirts. These lands are finally breathing. The heart of the soil beneath us bleeds once more. Everyone cheered. My heart itched with genuine happiness. Wait till you see this. 𝐿𝐸, I linked. I turned to face the witches who had sided with us, brows furrowing at the expressions their faces held. With my beast chain wrapped round my wrist, I walked towards Kate, head tilted. What is it? Kate, I asked. Is something of the matter? She gulped, tears welling up in her ocean eyes before nodding. My knuckles whitened. Speak then. I rushed. What is it? The second she entered the witch's cocoon, the guard's spell had expired. My king, I don't know how I don't. None of us understand why. Tears filled down the apples of her cheeks, but prophecy said that she would need to hear. The trumpets. I completed. She needs to hear the trumpets. I opened the window 𝐿𝐸 ordered me to close a while ago. Please bring her back. I cannot reach her through our blood bond. She croaked, squeezing my arm. But she's there. I know she's there. I can feel it. Without a second thought, I got onto my beast and flew to the top of the tree a foreign Holland was sitting atop my chest. I did not have it in me to feel. At that moment, all I did was fly. I had a mission, and that mission was to bring the owner of half of my soul back into my arms. So when my beast landed on that damn tree branch once more, I wasted no time jumping in and sprinting up the top of the stairs. My heart squeezed at the door 𝐿𝐸 had broken, her shoulder imprinting its wooden structure. I uttered a prayer to the goddess, begging that I would find 𝐿𝐸 waiting for me to bring her back down to reality, and walked in. I was met with emptiness. Silence so profound the beating of my heart forced my ears to ring. My happiness quickly turned bittersweet. 𝐿𝐸, I called out, eyes taking in the circular arena my lover had fought in. I gulped, unable to accept the moon's fate. I spun in circles, bell rising in my throat at her absence. 𝐿𝐸, I screamed into thin air, falling on both knees. Oh goddess, oh goddess. It wasn't until I noticed tiny droplets of water colliding into the ground that I realized I was crying. My heart hurt. It squeezed and pulled in all directions, smashing into my stomach and meeting my lungs with so my aggression breathing became a tough. Oh, 𝐿𝐸, I rasped, fingers digging into the wooden floors my woman fought on. Where are you? Talk to me. Speak to me. Will you? None of this was fair. The moon was too cruel to her. She bled red, just like me. So why did she have to disappear? And I, not? Why did she have to pass when everyone lived? Why did she have to face the consequences of the underworld's magic when her heart was pure? I smashed my fist into the ground, pain striking my entire arm at the sheer force of my hit. I was angry at the world, at myself for not flying back up fast enough before 𝐊𝐤 ordered Kate to shut the window closed. I was angry that she was alone, completely unknowing of just what she was going through. The tears wouldn't stop. I was mourning her disappearance. I was mourning my future with her. The pups I had planned when she was away, planning for victory. Helplessness clouded my entire being, forcing my chest to cave and my sobs to strengthen. If she was here, 𝐊𝐤 would have wrapped her strong little arms around the length of my waist and whispered sweet nothings into my ear, telling me it was okay to cry. If she was here, she would have placed a chaste kiss on my neck and ushered me to stand back up. If 𝐊𝐤 was here, she would have never wanted to see me like this. Oh no, 𝐊𝐤𝐷𝐞𝐻's voice rang through my ears. Oh no, my eyes met his. Blue meeting brown, brown meeting blue. She's gone. I let out, shakily getting on both feet. Her soul no longer resides in our lands. 𝐊𝐤𝐷𝐞𝐻. He panned the area above his heart, lips parting at the words leaving my mouth. That can't be. His voice shook, as did his head. It can't be. Well, it is. It came out aggressive, but I was not able to rein in my emotion. The moon, once again, has decided her an undeserving fate. Ready yourself. We must inform the people. He nodded with red eyes. As we both got on our beasts and flew to the ground, I realized that 𝐊𝐤𝐷𝐞𝐻 and I were in the same position. Both of us were blood bonded to 𝐊𝐤. Both of us loved 𝐊𝐤. And most of all, both of us did not spend as much time as we needed to with 𝐊𝐤. The soil beneath us shook at the force of our beast's landing, bringing me back to reality. In front of me stood over 60 soldiers who were awaiting a response, awaiting a declaration of victory. So I got off my beast, as did 𝐊𝐤𝐷𝐞𝐻, and stood with my shoulders held high. They were worried, unable to fathom that their king had tears strolling down his cheeks. Heads turning for answer. My people, I spoke, swallowing down an array of emotions. I didn't know where to begin. The love of my life and mother of my unborn children had just slipped through my fingers once again, and I didn't know that she would ever come back. I didn't even have time to mourn her disappearance. But this is what 𝐊𝐤 would have wanted. She would have wanted me to maintain a strong front, to tell my people that everything would be okay. We have won the war, but we have lost something far more valuable than victory. I started. 𝐿𝐤 forced his way to the front of the crowd at my words, snatching his helmet off of his head. His eyes said it all. They spoke far more than his words ever could. He knew what was coming. He knew 𝐊𝐤 was gone. 𝐊𝐤 had it. My voice shook, eyes filling with uncontrollable tears. 𝐊𝐤 had it has passed. The warrior of all 4 kingdoms. The hero of all icons. My mate, I choked, looking down as I wiped aggressively at my face. She has passed. Date of death, 27th of March. 𝐿𝐤's jaw quivered, his eyes watery. He looked at me with so much emotion, so much regret, so much agony that I almost broke out of character. Just like I had lost my mate. He had lost the sister he was not able to fully get to know after 6 whole years. Just like I had lost my mate. He had lost a bond he was unable to repair in time, and I didn't know which was worse. My army's shock was broken when 𝐿𝐤 collapsed on one knee, his helmet resting on his side as he faced the great tree 𝐊𝐤 had passed in. Like dominoes, the rest of the soldiers followed him. I was the last. It was almost as though my body did not want to accept her passing, refusing to get down on one knee, but eventually, it did. I remembered her vigor to be a soldier, to be the soldier her mother had dreamed she would become, so I would announce her death like a true soldier. I held a howl so dense the birds stopped flying in the trees. The soldiers followed after me, treating her like the absolute warrior she was. 𝐊𝐤 was the reason the pups of this generation and generations after could run around these grounds with a care in the world. 𝐊𝐤 was the reason the grass was green and the sun shone. 𝐊𝐤 was the reason my people could fall into slumber without fear that war would strike once more. 𝐊𝐤 was the reason I felt alive. 𝐊𝐤 was the reason my heart bled. And 𝐊𝐤 was the reason I would not be able to smile without remembering that she was no longer there.